Counselor Verbeek, what is the back of on your chair?
The last live Leaf game I was at, they were giving them out at the door, Scotiabank.
Well, that doesn't surprise me. They were giving them away.
To be honest, it cost almost a little over $500 to get in the door, so they weren't giving them away. It wasn't free.
I imagine Counselor Guerin's pretty stressed today already, so.
Just another game tonight, boys. Just another game.
All right, Joe, tell my husband it's just another game.
Good. Good afternoon, Council. Can everybody hear me? Good. Okay. Before we start the meeting, I just wanted to, on behalf of Council, to recognize and acknowledge the recent discovery of unmarked mass grave site of 215 children of the Kamloops Residential School. As a show of solidarity and support to Aboriginal community of Canada and to mourn this unspeakable tragedy, we have lowered our flags at this time to half mast, which is good. And a lot of councillors recommended that, which really shows respect and feelings towards what happened here. So we also pay respect at this time to the children and to their families, the survivors of the residential school system. This tragedy cannot be ignored, and it is heartbreaking. It's a reminder of the shameful legacy of residential school system. And this can never, ever happen again, never. So our hearts and our prayers go out to the families. So thank you. So at this time, I'm going to call the meeting to order. Is there any conflict amongst any of the council members here tonight? Seeing none, I need the adoption of the published agenda, please, of this special meeting. Councillor Bjorkman and Councillor Bowman, all in favor? That's carried. And we'll move right into public presentations. And we're going to turn it right over to Councillor Verbeek, the chair of the Essex Police Service Board. So Councillor Verbeek, when you're ready, go ahead.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor, and welcome back. Mr. Auger just asked me to give just a brief summary. So several years ago when the PSA was opened, it's been rewritten now by the province, and it invited our OPP detachments, any with more than one police service board, to combine, to amalgamate. And so, and then more recently, they said that given the proper makeup, they would take serious consideration to applications for more than one board if combining all of them was going to make too big a board. So we came together, we call it the OPP Detachment Board, and that is the chairs and from all 6 of the services, all 5 of the services, there's 5 police services, police service boards under our detachment, and 6 police services, simply because Pelee Island doesn't have a police service board, but they do have a service from our detachment. So long and short, now we're at a place where June 7th is the deadline to make a submission for the proposals to the province. The detachment boards have been made up. Lakeshore did the lion's share of, following the guidelines and doing the makeups of how it would look with, the provincial appointees and the municipal appointees and the community appointments. And so it was broken into the north and south. And so tonight what we're here for is, what has come upon us is to decide if Essex is going to amalgamate with the combined north of Lakeshore and Tecumseh, or the combined south of Leamington, Kingsville, Pelee Island. So at our police service board meeting, you'll see in the notes, last week, we went to a vote and it was decided that Essex would go with the north. So that was the recommendation voted on and passed by the police service board. I will say I have since learned through attending the OAPSB this past week that Sarah Caldwell from the Solicitor General's office has pretty much confirmed that as long as these submissions by the municipalities, by the detachment boards, falls within the guidelines, the template that they've given, they will accept them. Originally, we kind of thought, well, we're just going to roll the dice and hope they take this, but they gave us I feel very confident they're going to take the recommendations unless they don't fall within, and they will fall within the guidelines set out for us. So I guess we're here tonight to have a discussion about it, to see where council's at, and to support or not support the recommendation that the police service board came to, and that was to amalgamate with the north. So I guess, is that good enough to open the conversation?
No, that's Councillor Verbeek. That's excellent. I'm glad to see that that's the way you guys voted on the board. I think that was smart. I support this 100%, but I'm going to open it up to council if there's any questions from council. At this point, I'll open it up. Councillor Bjorkman, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and through you, yes, thank you, Councilor Verbeek, for the report there, and thanks to our Police Services Board for putting the work and effort into this. One of the things I noticed when I was reading the report and looking at the vote was that Councilor Bowman and Councilor Verbeek did not support the position of the board, and it was a 3-2 vote to join the North. So I have some concerns that our council reps were not in favor of joining the North, which sounds a lot more that they were in favor of the South. So I would like just to hear, I see that we have Mr. Tapping and Ms. McGuire Blaze with us. So I know that's the recommendation that ended up passing, but I would like to just understand what I think our natural fit is with the South. And I'd like to see what the reasons are that they believe that the North is a superior choice. So if we could have some of that, if I'm able to ask that, I would like to.
Bjorkman, before we go to Rich or Katie, we'll go to Councillor Bowman. He had his hand up. Go ahead, Councillor.
Thank you. As Councillor Steve just mentioned, it was a split vote on the board. However, there's arguments both ways on the decision. First of all, there's two issues to decide. Are we in favor of the two-board system? And we think that makes sense, and that was unanimous from the board. The second one was, how do we align? And there's arguments both ways. The South, there's no doubt about it. We've had, with the Kingsville detachment and our Essex detachment, they worked back and forth quite a bit. The big fear was that we have the big sister in Leamington that might sort of overwhelm what we do in Essex as far as being sort of under their thumb, and that obviously is a consideration. I'd also point out it's probably the same consideration from the North, because Lakeshore is a larger municipality than we are as well. However, we do align well with both sides. I don't think there's any, our borders, especially in the town of Essex, so many of our businesses on the north side are involved with the Lakeshore. Some, for example, Ken Knapp is half in Essex and half in Lakeshore. So it's the working arrangements across that line is very strong. And we've always got along extremely well with the Tecumseh detachment detachment and the Lakeshore detachment. So that it is very well as well. Myself, I don't really have a problem going either way. I think they'll both work well for us. If we go north, we are one of three. If we go south, we would be one of basically four. So because the Pelee Island will also be thrown into the mix as well. So that's also a consideration. So the recommendation of the board was that we go to the north, and that's a recommendation, and I can support that. Thank you.
I'll go to Katie. Did you want to add anything?
Thank you, your chair. Everything Morley said is the reason why I voted the way that I did. I just felt that Leamington had bigger policing issues than the North, which is why I thought after being 2 years on the board, seeing the crime in Leamington versus Lakeshore, I felt our problems here in Essex would be minuscule in comparison and might not be taken as seriously as they would if we were in the North. Thank you.
I'll go. Rich, have you got anything to add?
No, not really. Just echoing what Katie said. And again, we looked at how much time and how much effort the board would be with Leamington in there, as obviously they're bigger and they have more things to talk about there. So no, I echo what the other two have said, and I think North is the way to go.
To council again. Anybody else from council want to add anything to this? Okay, Councillor Bondi, you were first. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have been a counselor I've zoomed into a lot of the police service board meetings over the past year, and I've done it for me so that I can learn and see what's going on. And I really feel that the fit is really with Kingsville. And, when we say the big sister in Leamington, I don't know, to me, that's almost, I don't know, I think it's a compliment that Leamington has a strong mayor that is being vocal about what she wants. And also, let's not beat around the bush. We share some of the same concerns that Leamington has in terms of police presence. We want people talking about police presence. We want more police presence. So if we can work with some of the vocal members in Leamington, I think we can have a better service. Also, if you look at Kingsville and Essex, they're very similar. A lot of our stats, our populations are very similar. I am worried about being drowned out with the northern municipalities, Tecumseh and Lakeshore. Lakeshore is growing. It's getting really big as well. I also feel that our culture and tourism and some of the issues that the police will be dealing with are more focused on the Kingsville, Leamington, even Pelee Island. I mean, Pelee Island, I don't think is going to really be a distraction here. I also believe that our residents and optics is a lot. We have to deal with optics all the time. The optics of going to the north versus working with our neighbor, to the east. I think that's kind of a big deal, right? The Harrow, Colchester community, and even Essex, we're very close to Kingsville. So I think we could have a really good working relationship there. So geographically as well, when I first heard about the two boards, I was even surprised that we had a say, right? I thought it was going to be cut down Essex County. We'd automatically be with the southern half. So I don't know. I'm leaning towards Kingsville. I do know that the board did have a recommendation to go with the northern half, but I think that we all need to work together with the police and work on some of those issues that we share with Leamington and be in the south. So that's kind of my thoughts. Thank you.
Mayor Malash, you were next. Go ahead.
Thank you, through you, your worship. I was kind of of the same opinion that we would probably have joined forces with the communities that were on the south side of County Road 8. We have a lot more, I feel we have a lot more similarities to Kingsville. When we first decided to go contract policing, that's the community that we compared to get a lot of our details as to, because they were already OPP. We looked at Kingsville because they were similar in size. I know that I think it was Morley maybe that had said that we'd be one of 4 in the south and only one of 3 in the north, but really I looked at populations, and Tecumseh's 30,000 people, maybe closer to 35, and Lakeshore's 40,000 people. That's 70 to 75,000 residents in that northern section. Essex is 20, Kingsville's around 20, maybe a little bit more than that. And Leamington is just shy of 30. Would put us at about 70 on this side, on the southern side. And then and of course there's Peely Island, but that's very minimal. So I thought that way too, you'd be split with the number of residents. Although Lakeshore is only one community, it's the size of Kingsville and Essex as far as area goes and population. So I really think that I thought that we would go south, to be honest with you. If we had ever thought about amalgamating police services, we'd probably talk to Kingsville to say, does Kingsville and Essex want to join forces to make one police service, like one contract? We share a common border, water border, and I think that makes more sense because there's a lot of water issues too when you get to summer, sometimes even in the winter, but summer mostly. You share the common contacts with Coast Guard and various persons that deal with water issues. But again, that's just my thoughts. But like what Councillor Bowman was saying, if the Police Services Board is recommending that we join the North, it's hard for me as a councillor to say, no, that's not what we should do. But I think there's, in my view, I've not been on the Police Services Board, but I think we have more commonality with Kingsville and Kingsville for sure, and Leaming in the sense that we share that Lake Erie shoreline. So, thank you.
Deputy Mayor, just one point, Deputy Mayor, that you made. I mean, I agree, I'm listening to you. I agree with you on the south. I never even thought, but you're right. Kingsville, there's Kingsville, Leamington, and Colchester, Essex, all on the waterfront here. So yeah, I agree with you there. But I understand that the board has made a recommendation, but it's still up to council. Okay, it's a council decision who they want to go with. So, but I'll leave it at that. Is there anybody else from Aaron? Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, through you. We did hear about the issue possibly with joining the South with Leamington. I'd like to hear from any of the board members on the positives of going on the north side of it. To me, yeah, we aligned much better, I believe, on the south side, but was there any positives that came out of the discussions with the board that would say the north makes more sense than the south. I heard the thing about the Leamington, but I want to know what would be the positives of going on the north.
I'll turn it over to Councillor Verbeek. Do you want to answer that or give it to one?
Well, yeah, I was going to say, Mr. Mayor, through you, the board, and Morley will attest that I argued quite vehemently for the South because I felt like we aligned, our kids went to the schools there and all of that. So it wouldn't make sense. I didn't have positives for the North. So I'm hoping that we could ask one of the other board members to speak to that.
Councillor. Katie, did you want to add anything to this? Why the north?
Thank you, your mayor. So positives with going to the north. Really, what we're changing is only the police board. Our services are not going to change. Our OPP officers are not going to change. It is the only thing that's going to change is how long our meetings are and what we're discussing at these meetings. So as a board, we were looking at when we sit down at a board and we see the stats, we get the reports from the OPP, and if we find an issue such as visibility of the OPP within town, the Colchester Beach, there was issues with bullying in the park. For the board, looking at the problems that Leamington has, and I know the population is different. I agree that we are demographically the same or closer, similar to the South, but seeing the reports that are coming out of Leamington, and the reason why the mayor of Leamington is having an issue is because they have different crime than Essex. For me, I feel like our crime or our OPP issues are more related to the North, not the South. Yes, we're the same. Our demographics are the same. Our borders are more South, but our crime, which is what we're going to discuss, more aligns to me with the North. And that is the reason why I chose the North. Those are my positives, that sitting in a board meeting, listening to what's happening. Lakeshore and Tecumseh both have waterfronts. We're going to be able to discuss what they do as well as what we do. Again, our services aren't changing. This isn't changing services. It's just changing what we're talking about. We're going to be talking to the same OPP officers. Nothing changes there. It's just how we're talking and where we're spending our time. Do we want to spend our time on Leamington crime, which is very, very different? Leamington is a very different town. They're bordering a city than Essex is. And that was my reasoning for going to the North. Thanks.
Yeah, Rich, did you want to add anything?
I can just say, I echo what Katie says, and that the original thought was we didn't know what Leamington was going to do. And we said, absolutely, with Kingsville, that'd be great. Then when we found out Leamington was going back with OPP, it's like, okay, we need to rethink this, because we did postpone our original vote to see what the answer was with Leamington. So it's just with the workload during the meetings with Leamington involved, it's going, this is where we're going to look at how much the meeting is going to be, because they got higher stats. I'm looking at them right now for calls of April. They're like double what we have. So, and in my experience with the OPP here in Ward 1 area, Essex, is we either getting a crew from Manning Road, or we're getting a crew from Bell River coming into Ward 1. And there's probably units from Kingsville coming in the other way, if there is, but my experience from Essex, Ward 1, is we're getting a lot of them from Lakeshore coming into our area. So again, it's a back and forth. I'm surprised there's two boards. I thought there'd be one board, since we have one, integrated police service. But anyway, those are my reasons as well.
Nolan, go ahead. Go ahead, Councillor Ben and Nolan. Go ahead.
Sorry, your voice didn't come through the first time. Through you, Mr. Mayor, first a question and then a comment. Is this decision irrevocable, or can we change and join up with Kingsville and Leamington 2 years from now or next year or something?
Verbeek, if you can answer that, go ahead.
I thank you through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Vanderdolen. I can only guess, but they're doing the work now to put these boards into place for the long haul. And this has been several years in the making, so I expect once they form these boards, we're not going to be able to say, oh, we changed our mind, we want to jump over there. I think the next move would be the move that should have been made now, and that would be the one board. That's getting into the weeds. That's getting muddy because we can't go there. That ship has sailed. But if we're going to move forward with the proposal for 2 boards, which we are, which is now in stone, what we recommend right now and what gets put in place, I doubt that we'll be able to go back to the province and say, oh, we made a mistake or something. If that would, but I don't know for sure. That would be my best guess from all these talks.
Yeah, Councillor
Good
Verbeek,
question.
I think you're absolutely correct on that. I think once a decision's made, I don't think you can go back. You had another question, Councillor Vandendoel?
No, I had a comment after the answer. Thanks for the answer, Councillor Verbeek. Yeah, this is kind of a counterintuitive thing. You think, oh yeah, we have to go with the south. But I'm looking at the map of the county over my desk here, and we actually, we share a border with Kingsville, but Leamington is a long way away. But we share a border with both Tecumseh and Lakeshore, and that Manning Road detachment is basically in the center of the 3 communities. So just from a geographical point of view, the north makes more sense. I can really see that our issues would be swamped next to the different issues that are going on in Leamington, and I could see that we could very easily our issues could be overlooked. So I think I'm willing to go with the board's recommendation on this. They know more about it than I do, and to me, it's almost a 50-50 flip. But if they think that, if their gut feeling says it will be better served with Lakeshore and Tecumseh, then I'm going to tend to agree with them and vote with them. All 5 communities have waterfront. All 5 communities, are kind of similar, except that the 2 that are the most dissimilar are Leamington and Essex. So I think maybe north is where I'm going to go to. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor. Deputy Mayor Malash, go ahead.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Mayor, to Chair Kim Verbeek. Did Todd Levine have any say in or discussion with the board about what he thought? I'm just wondering what he was thinking.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, and yes, Deputy Mayor, I did talk to Todd about this before the meeting, and I did bring the information to the last police service board meeting. And his comments were that our services are most aligned with Kingsville, as we even share services and officers. And he had said it just seemed obvious that the communities would align along the South Shore. And that was, if he was going to get involved politically, which he was not, that would be what he would have assumed to be the way we would go. But clearly he didn't, because it's a political issue. But he did give me, I asked him if I could bring the information to the police service board, and he did say yes. Okay, thank you.
Councillor Bjorkman, you are next. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And to Mr. Tapping and Ms. McGuire Blaze, thank you very much. And that information regarding the meetings themselves, this isn't about us sharing police services. This is about how will the board work best to make sure that the needs of Essex are addressed and that we have a clear voice. So, I mean, heading into this, I talked with both of our counselors on the board, and I felt that, the South was the way to go. Kingsville, we're much like, but it's very, it was nice to hear your views on that, that this is the meetings we're talking about. This is where we talk about what Essex needs or what Kingsville needs, what Leamington needs. And I can see, I'm never in favor of voting against something. I'm in favor of voting for something. And right now, I think we're all like against Leamington. Oh my God, we don't want to be in the same. They're going to take over the meetings. And I think we need to lose that feel. But who do we really mate with? Who do we share the stats when we're having that conversation at that board level? What is going to be the common? And after listening to this, I'm sure that is more in common with Tecumseh and Lakeshore. The same policing issues, the same sort of our major urban areas are very much alike, very developed, and then large rural areas, and not that big downtown that Leamington has, and the other pressures that are on their force out there. So I will be surprising myself, but I will be supporting the board's idea to go with the North. Thank you.
Thank you, Council, for all your input, unless somebody else has anything to add, but thank you. I'll go ahead, Councillor Verbeek, go ahead. Go ahead, Councillor Verbeek, you're muted. Go ahead. No, you're still muted.
I'm sorry.
There you go.
I was getting messages, and I don't know if anybody else, when their messages come in, it blocks my microphone. I just wanted to say, I wanted to first thank the board members that came today and helped with this meeting. It was much appreciated. And I did want to point out to everybody here that, wherever we land, in our combined boards, we will always continue to act as a whole, as an entire entity with the detachment. The municipalities, we dubbed ourselves years ago the Five Eyes, the Kingsville, Lakeshore, Tecumseh. We meet several times a year, all 5 boards. So even after we become 2, we will still, the North and South will still, we had this discussion at our last detachment meeting. We'll still come together a couple of times a year to share in a meeting to share concerns of the entire region. So just so that it's not like, oh, we're just going to have these 2 boards and they're never going to line up. We will continue. We agreed at the last detachment meeting. We will still continue to come together for, a few meetings a year. I think we have like 4 breakfasts and a supper together and discuss regional issues, but I don't know how that'll look with the new boards, but it's not like it's just going to be 2 separate entities that don't come together and communicate.
Thank you, Councillor. Doug, have you got anything to add at all?
To me, Mr. Mayor, no, I think the police service members made their reasons. No,
Okay.
I think it's been good discussion.
Okay, thank you, Doug.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, just a real quick item procedurally, and I think Councillor Verbeek already mentioned, but as far as what's being requested as the Solicitor General, it basically would be a 2-part submission. They're looking for Council's endorsement on the 2-board model as the preferred detachment board model for the Essex County OBP Detachment Board. And then in addition to receiving the minutes that we've brought to Council tonight, but the second part, of course, would be the question of whether Council supports the recommendation of the Police Services Board for the amalgamation with the northerly municipalities, or if Council supports amalgamation with the South.
I'll leave that up to Council. If Council wants to make a recommendation. Anybody from Council here? Councillor Guerin, go ahead.
So if you're looking for a motion on both that in one at once, I can
No,
make that?
you can do both, Councillor Guerin. So
Okay,
we're going to ask.
Okay,
Go ahead.
then I'll make the motion that we support the 2-board model and that Essex joins with the North.
With the North, you said?
With the North.
Okay, go ahead. I'll need a seconder on that one. You second that one, Councillor Van Andel. Any discussion on this one? All in favor of this? Carried, unanimous. Thank you very much, council. And Rich and Katie, thank you so much for your input and all the services you do for our municipality. Thanks a million. So I guess we can move right into unfinished business.
Sure. Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Just real quickly for council's information. So council received correspondence back at the May 17th regular meeting. Correspondence dated May 7th from the Ministry for Seniors and Accessibility, looking for council to submit a nomination for the 2021 Senior of the Year. We noted at that, so council received, and we noted at that meeting that the deadline for inputting is May 31st. So we noted we would bring this back as unfinished business in order to allow for some additional time for nominations. Unfortunately, it doesn't, at least from the public, it doesn't appear that we've received any nomination date. Just basic information real quickly. Award. It's given by a municipality to recognize an outstanding senior who, after the age of 65, enriches the social, cultural, or civic life of the community. And certainly seniors who qualify for this award may have contributed in many different areas: arts, literature, community service, volunteer and education, humanitarian activities. So no nominations through the process since council last met. As far as prior award winners, 2019, Brenda Anger was awarded. Diana Dennis in 2018, Jan Mooney in 2017, and Floyd Cascade in 2016. Those are some of our recent recipients. But certainly if council's wish is to nominate someone tonight, as we're out of this meeting, we will submit that nomination.
Before we start, I would just like to, I'm looking at one person, and we all know him, Tout McDermott. He's in his 80s. He volunteers a couple times every week here at the food bank. And he's always out there helping seniors. He's always doing something. In the past, he has, in his days, he has taught baseball or coached baseball. He's been involved with the youth in his lifetime. He's done a lot. He's done a lot for our municipality, and very, very, very involved to this day. To this day, he's very involved in his 80s. I think Tout is probably 85 now, 85 or 86 years old. And I think he well deserves this nomination. So that's where I'm at. So I'll open it up to Councilor Bondi.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. If you're making that nomination, I'd like to second it.
Councilor. Anybody else? Has anybody in mind? Go ahead, Councilor or Deputy Mayor Malash. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Actually, I had a couple of people's names in mind, but he was one of them. So I'm good with that. I think he's an exemplary person to represent as a senior citizen that does a lot in the community. I mean, even when he walks up and down the sidewalk through the downtowns, he's picking up garbage and he's got something to put it in. You know, he's really has the heart of the whole community in his heart. But he's also been involved in the Legion for many years. And he was involved in baseball. He was also an umpire for a very long time. Across the whole community and across the county. It wasn't just Essex Center. So a lot of people can remember him as, you know, when they were kids, having him umpire their games. So I think he's an excellent person, and he is working a tremendous amount of time with the food bank in Essex. He's also been involved with the senior citizens group complex. So yeah, I think Mr. Mayor, you've suggested a good one, and I'm wholeheartedly support it.
Councilor Verbeek, go ahead.
Thanks through you, Mr. Mayor. just, Mr. Deputy Mayor, you certainly did good, listing some of our, Mr. McDermott's past achievements, but you forgot to mention the years of service he gave through municipal politics that I've certainly learned is one hard gig. And indeed a bit of the service is a bit of a sacrifice, and we're very grateful to him for that. Not to mention he's given to the arts in his movie making and in his entertaining singing with the quartet. And I'm sure if we, put on our thinking caps, we could make that list a lot longer. So I too would support the nomination.
You said, Councillor Verbeek, when I brought in that recommendation that we recognize people with their 50th anniversary, he was doing that way before. He'd on 80th birthdays and so on, he'd be right at the house. So he's done a lot. He's got a lot of love in his heart, that guy. So I'm going to leave it up to council. All in favor of that recommendation? Unanimous. Good. Thank you very much, council. Here, I hope everybody has a great afternoon, and I'm going to ask for adjournment. Deputy Mayor Malash and Councillor Bondi, go. All in favor? Have a great evening, and don't forget, cheer on them Leafs tonight, eh?